Good day, sir. I am Bel Duhaylungsod of your subject CLJ302 Section D. So this is my final examination. Question number 1. What is misprision of treason? Misprision of treason under Article 116 of the Revised Penal Code. Every person owing alliance to the government of the Philippine Island without being a foreigner and having knowledge of conspiracy against them, conceals or does not disclose or make known the same to the proper authority, which are the governor or fiscal of the province or mayor or fiscal of the city which he resides, shall be punished as an accessor to the crime of treason. Number 2. What is piracy as defined in the Presidential Decree number 532? So, piracy, any attack upon or seizure of any vessel or taking away of whole or part thereof of its cargo, equipment, or personal belonging of its complement or passengers, respectively of the value thereof, by means of violence against or intimidation of person or force upon things committed by any person, including a passenger or member of the complement of said vessel in the Philippine waters, shall be considered as piracy. The offender shall be considered as pirates. Number 3. How is delay in the delivery of the detained person to the proper judicial authority committed? So, in Article 125 of the Revised Penal Code, the penalty provided in the next preceding article shall be imposed upon any public officer or employee who shall detain any person with some legal grounds and shall fail to deliver to the proper judicial authorities within the period of 12 hours for light penalties or their equivalent, 18 hours for correctional penalties or their equivalent, and 36 hours for afflictive or capital punishment or their equivalent. And in every case, the person detained shall be informed of why he is detained, and upon his request shall have, or any time shall have the right to talk to his attorney or counsel. Number 4, distinguish Article 128, violation of domicile, from Article 280, qualified trespass to dwelling. So, in the Revised Penal Code, Article 128, violation of domicile is committed by any public officer who, not being authorized by judicial order, shall enter any dwelling against the owner's will and shall search for papers or documents, and even told by the owners to get out of the dwelling and refuse to do so, while Article 280 is qualified trespass to dwelling is committed by private individual or person, and against the owner's will, enters the house with intimidation or force. Number 5. How is coup d'etat committed? So, in Article 134 of the Revised Penal Code, coup d'etat, the crime of coup d'etat is a swift attack accompanied by violence, intimidation, threat, strategy, or stealth directed against duly constituted authorities of the Republic of the Philippines or any military camp or installation, communication network, public utilities, or other facilities needed for the exercise and continued possession of power, singly or simultaneously carried out anywhere in the Philippines by any person or persons belonging to the military or police or any holding any public office of employment with or without civilian support or participation for the purpose of seizing or diminishing state power. Question number 6. When and how rape is committed under the Republic Act 8353? So, in the Article 266 of the Revised Penal Code, rape is committed by a man who shall have carnal knowledge of a woman under any of the following circumstances. A. Through force, threat, or intimidation. B. If the offended party is deprived of reason or otherwise unconscious. Or C. By means of fraudulent machination or grave abuse of authority. And D. When the offended party is under 12 years of age or demented, even though the circumstances mentioned above is not present. And number 2, the other form of rape or is sexual assault by any person who under any of the following circumstances mentioned in the paragraph 1 hereof shall commit an act of sexual assault by inserting his penis into another person's mouth or anal orifice or any instrument or object into the genital or anal orifice of another person. So, question number 7. what are the two forms of robbery. So in Article 294 of the Revised Penal Code, the first form of robbery is robbery with violence or intimidation. So this is committed to person to person. So the robber will likely, in our language, hold up a person to get his money or other valuable things. And the other form of robbery is robbery with force upon things. So this is committed to um, by person to a house or an uninhabited house. So a person will get money or things to probably sell that things for him to gain money. So question number 8, what is false key? So in the Article 305, false key. So the term false key shall be deemed to include number 1, these tools mentioned in the following next proceeding article, which are the picklocks and similar tools. And number 2, genuine keys stolen from the owner. And number 3, any keys other than those intended by the owner for the use in the lock forcibly opened by the offender. So question number 9, how is theft committed? So in the Article 308 of the Revised Penal Code, who are liable for theft? So theft is committed by any person with intent to gain, but without violence against or intimidation of person, nor force upon things, shall take another person's property without the latter's consent. Question number 10. How is qualified theft committed? So under Article 310 of the Revised Penal Code, the crime of theft shall be punished by the penalties next higher by 2 degrees than those respectively specified in the next preceding article if committed by domestic servant, or with grave abuse of confidence, or if the property stolen is motor vehicle, mail matter, or large cattle, or consists of coconuts taken from the plantation, or fish taken from the fish fund or fishery, or if property is taken on the occasion of fire, earthquake, typhoon, volcanic eruption, or any other calamity, vehicular accident, or civil disturbance. Question number 10. What is prima facie evidence of arson? So, under the Article 326 of the Revised Penal Code, prima facie evidence of arson. Any of the following circumstances shall constitute prima facie evidence of arson. So, number 1, if after the fire are found materials or substance soaked in gasoline, kerosene, petroleum, or other inflammable, or mechanical, or electrical, chemical, or traces, or any of the foregoing. Number 2, that substantial amount of flammable substance or materials were stored within the building not necessary in the course of defendant's business, and that the fire started simultaneously in more than one part of the building or local under circumstances that cannot normally be due to accidental or unintentional causes, provided, however, that at least one of the following is present in any of the 3 above mentioned circumstances. A. The total insurance carried in the building and or goods is more than 80% of value of the such building and or good at the time of the fire. B. That the defendant after the fire has presented a fraudulent claim or loss. The penalty of prison correctional shall be imposed upon the one who plants the articles above mentioned in order to secure a conviction or as a means of extortion or coercion. So question number 12. What is malicious mischief? So under Article 327 of the Revised Penal Code, who are liable for malicious mischief? So any person who shall deliberately cause the property of person any damage not falling within the terms of the preceding chapter shall be guilty of malicious mischief. Question number 13. Who are person exempted for criminal liability under Article 332? So person exempted from criminal liability, no criminal but only civil liability shall result from commission of the crime of theft, swindling, or malicious mischief committed or caused mutually by the following persons: spouses, ascendants, and descendants, or relative by affinity in the same line. The widow spouse with respect to the property which belonged to the deceased spouse before the same shall have passed into the possession of another. And 3, brothers and sisters, and brother-in-law and sister-in-law, if living together. The exemption established by this article shall not be applicable to strangers participating in the commission of crime. So question number 14. How is adultery committed? So under Article 333 of the Revised Penal Code, adultery is committed by any married woman who shall have sexual intercourse by a man not her husband, and by a man who shall have carnal knowledge of her, knowing her to be married, even if the marriage is subsequently declared void. Question number 15. How is concubinage committed? So under Article 334 of the Revised Penal Code, concubinage, any husband who shall keep a mistress in the conjugal dwelling or shall have sexual intercourse under scandalous circumstances with a woman who is not his wife, or shall cohabit with her in any other place, shall be punished by prison correctional in its minimum and medium periods. The concubine shall suffer the penalty of distierro. Question number 16. How is qualified seduction committed? So under Article 337 of the Revised Penal Code, the seduction of a virgin over 12 years of age and under 18 years of age committed by any person in public authority, priest, home servant, domestic, guardian, teacher, or any person who, in any capacity, shall be entrusted with education or custody of the woman seduced, shall be punished by prison correctional in its minimum and medium periods. The penalty next higher and degree shall be imposed upon any person who shall seduce his sister or descendant, whether or not she be a virgin or over 18 years of age. Under the provision of this chapter, the seduction is committed when the offender has carnal knowledge of any persons and under the circumstances described herein. So, question number 17. How is bigamy committed? So, under Article 349 of the Revised Penal Code, bigamy, the penalty of presens major shall be imposed upon any person who shall contract a second or subsequent marriage before the former marriage has been legally dissolved, or before the absent spouse has been declared presumptively dead by means of judgment rendered in the proper proceeding. Question number 18. What is libel? So, in Article 353 of the Revised Penal Code, libel. A libel is the public and malicious imputation of a crime or a vice or defect, real or imaginary, or any act, omission, condition, status, or circumstances tending to cause the dishonor, discredit, or contempt of a natural or juridical person, or to blacken the memory of the dead. Question number 19. What is planting of evidence? And paragraph CC, section 3, article 1 of the Republic Act number 9165 and its penalty, section 29. So, paragraph CC of the Republic Act 9165, planting of evidence. The willful act by any person of maliciously and surreptitiously inserting, placing, adding, or attaching directly or indirectly through any overt or covert act whatever quantity of any dangerous drug and or controlled precursor and essential chemical in the person, house, effects, or in the immediate vicinity of an incident or innocent individual for the purpose of implicating, incriminating, or imputing the commission of any violation of this act. And its penalties under section 29 is the criminal liability for planting of evidence. Any person who is found guilty of planting any dangerous drug and or controlled precursor and essential chemical regardless of quantity and purity shall suffer the penalty of death. Question number 20. How is murder committed? So under Article 248 of the Revised Penal Code, any person not falling within the provision of Article 246 shall kill another, shall be guilty of murder, and shall be punished by reclusion temporal in its maximum period to death if committed with any of the following attendant circumstances. 1. With treachery, taking advantage of superior strength, with the aid of armed men, or employing means to weaken the defense, or of means or persons to ensure or afford impunity. Number 2. Any consideration of price, reward, or promise. Number 3. By means of inundation, fire, poison, explosion, shipwreck, stranding of a vessel, derailment, or assault upon a street or car locomotive, falling in an airship by means of motor vehicles, or with the use of any other means involving great waste and ruin. Number 4. On occasion of any of the calamities enumerated in the preceding paragraph, or of an earthquake, eruption of a volcano, destructive cyclone, epidemic, or other public calamity. Number 5. With evident premeditation. Number 6. With cruelty, by deliberately and inhumanly augmenting the suffering of the victim, or outraging or scoffing at his person or corpse.